Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon, and what follows is an excerpt from the book The Book of Knowledge I Am Alien, Volume 1 by Roman Harenbuehler. It's in the process of being updated, and Kuntarkis wanted to share this particular chapter, so here it is. Chapter 18, The Fundamental Foundation of All Life.
From the beginning there was darkness in all things. Then came a spark of light, being living energy, that spread throughout the universes, and life began its circle of evolution. From that one spark of light came consciousness, and from that very moment, life began as light moving freely throughout the unknown. When it became the known, it became the past, and the past was no longer important, because no emotion of any form of negativity existed at that moment. What did exist was the spark of light, being the essence of living energy, moving and evolving beyond the known and moving forward into the unknown. For it is in the unknown that pure creativeness lies. No negativity exists, only pure light in living consciousness. Time that was created by humanity only exists in a third-dimensional vibration, being physical matter. Time also holds the past, and it is the past which keeps humanity locked in the third-dimensional world of physical matter. There are in reality 7 different vibrations of levels within the dimension. Example, 1, which is the first, second, and the third. And within those dimensions, there are many forms of levels when it comes to one's level of thinking, mainly because of the human ego. As the human ego has been created in a negative form, from all the negative experiences of human life and conscious evolution, has been retarded and halted from stepping beyond its past. It is the past of all human negative emotion that is and has been created, and being created has caused conflict, pain, misery, wars, and all the injustices upon humanity on this most precious earth for the last 928,000 human years. It will continue to expand in a negative way until each human, that is, all of humanity, faces the fears and insecurities that have been holding each of us back from expanding beyond our human ego, that has caused the negative conditioning and has been formulated into one's belief systems, which governs the evolution in a negative way for all of humanity. There is barely any conscious growth in that way of evolution. To grow consciously as a species, we must first become responsible for all that is as an individual that we have each created in our human life, be it negative or positive. There is only one way to do this. Stop everything long enough to look around and truly see what is happening in our world. Let's say you as humans are becoming very afraid of all that is around you. You have lost touch with your inner self, and most of you do not trust yourselves or your decisions. So you look to others to give you the answers, or you use the excuse that you do not have the time because you are too busy with your own life, or that you do not want to know. But the real truth is, you as human individuals have been highly conditioned into a certain way of thinking. Everything that you are at this moment in your life was created firstly from your parents' transfer of their own genetics, including all of their experiences, being negative or positive, and from your society, your friends, your media, your laws, and also your governments. Your human brain has recorded everything that has happened in your current life, whether it is negative or positive. In reality, you have become a walking encyclopedia of your past, and this is where the problem exists. Most of you are clones of your own parents, and your parents are clones of their parents, and so on. Because most humans have negative emotions ingrained within their genetics, which is basically called past hurts. All emotions and feelings are encoded from one generation to the next, and so the past lives in the present moment and sadly creates your future. That is why you have so much confusion within you and around your human life. All negative emotions create imbalances within your chakra systems, causing your internal and external energies to be out of line. That's what adds to one's confusion. Trying to break free from the past can be a difficult task for any human individual. You have to want to break free, and then you have the courage and the strength to begin your own self-discovery. The truth is almighty present, and that truth is encoded within you, being your cellular memory that exists within your physical reality as well as your spirit reality. The light, being a substance called living energy, shines within every human and has been present throughout your existence and the existence of all life, going back trillions of human years ago, where the first spark of thought began, as did evolution. Creation, being living energy, is within and around all things, meaning you included. You and everything upon this precious earth are a part of creation's living energy of totality. You have all been around for a very long time in human history. For example, as a species called human, you have existed for more than 928,000 human years. An alien race called the Nakarons from a planet called Nakaris, being 417,000 light years from your planet Earth, placed just over 87,000 Nakarons on the planet Earth, which is 928,000 human years ago. The planet back then was called Karis, named after an alien named Yakis Kardis. Most of the human race, as it is in this moment of life, came from or evolved from the Nakarons, and the race of beings who were already here for several thousand years, evolving from a species similar to the apes of planet Karis and into what is referred to as the Neanderthals. They existed for thousands of human years, creating havoc among their species of life, and eventually the Nakarons, being the ones placed upon this planet, intermingled, mating with the Neanderthals. Humans of today have the genetics of both races within them, and the human of today is the result of 928,000 years of evolution and the mixing of a number of species. Interestingly, history is repeating itself. Please understand that I am not asking you to believe what is being expressed. The truth of what I'm expressing to you lies dormant with each of you and is encoded in your living essence, meaning the spark of light being living energy that is within all forms of life, just as all of life is within you. From the beginning of your existence as living energy, and with each incarnation, you are evolving from one lifetime to the next. It's like saying, I am the essence of living energy, formulating into living consciousness, connected from my human brain to my mind, being pure living energy. Knowing my imagination is my greatest gift, which flows directly to my own soul. I was created as a facet of my soul, yet I know who I am. I am my soul. I am divinity, infinite in all things. Between your lives, you were resting and growing in the fourth dimension, being spirit realm, planning your next life to reincarnate within another human body. And the purpose of these lives is to gather knowledge which will help you grow beyond your present state of self-awareness and to come a full circle, returning once more to being of light of your soul. At this moment, I must express about how the Asian, Africans, Australians, Aboriginal races came about into your human history. The 87,000 Akarans who were placed here on your planet Earth mated with the Neanderthals. The Neanderthals evolved as a race and became the natives of the continent of your planet Earth. And you can see a very strong resemblance physically to this ancient species in your African and Australian Aboriginals. You can also see Neanderthals to a lesser extent in your Europeans, but their genetics are clearly present. The Asian race are a very interesting creation of evolution and genetic engineering, having evolved from chimpanzees and apes and other primates over hundreds of thousands of human years, with the assistance of an extraterrestrial alien race being physical, who still visit your planet today. These beings experimented and implanted their own genetics, along with that of the primates, trying to create an intelligent, non-aggressive physical being who would not be a threat to them. This new species was monitored by these scientists, just as your scientists today are experimenting with implanting genetics into related and vastly unrelated species to what effect such genes would have, which would be quite horrifying. Interesting how history is repeating itself. Ask yourself, what is more important to you as a human individual? To be highly conditioned with no free will, to never truly know yourself, and to believe only what you are being told? That is, to be a clone and live in an emotional negative state that eventually will lead you into a depression, stress, and all forms of diseases. Or would you prefer to know the truth, to be set free from your negative emotional pain and be given the opportunity to step beyond the past into the present moment? Are you willing to face yourself and see yourself for who you truly are without all the excuses that the human ego gives you to hide behind? To face yourself can be very painful, and to grow beyond your egotistical human logical ego is also a painful and often a very lengthy journey of self-discovery in becoming self-aware. But feeling the pain for what it is will set you free. It will allow you, the human individual, to grow beyond your ego, and you will see with new eyes and a warm heart that you can dissolve the falseness from around yourself that has surrounded humanity for so long. By seeing the illusion, you will grow to understand that the fundamental foundation of all life is purely unconditional love. That is what creation is, being living energy. Unconditional love in reality comes from your heart, just like an atom begins as pure living energy. Over millions of moments of existence, consciousness became reality and the atom was formed. And from the atom, billions of life forms were created throughout all the trillions of universes, billions of planets, and millions of intellectual life forms. I will leave you with this thought. It is the human ego that gives you all the excuses you need to not grow consciously. But be warned, it is also the human ego that creates all your pain and all your misery and all the disappointments within your human life. Yet, to love yourself unconditionally will set you free from your ego's hold and will allow you, the human individual, to know the truth and to live without fears or insecurities, to be in a state of complete bliss and have the perfect balance of mind, body, and spirit. For knowledge is not power. Knowledge is ultimate freedom. And back to you, Michael.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kuntarkis. I've got some questions. My first one is, you describe the ego as the source of much human suffering. How would you explain the ego to someone who has never thought about it before?
Okay. You know how our society is? If we look around the world, especially the actors, look at the way the actors love being looked upon. being glorified. They love it. Today, a lot of the old actors are saying, hey, I don't do a lot of movies anymore, but do you still love me? Do you still want to know all about me? Do you still accept me? I've been reading that, and to me, that's a very insecure person. I have never in my entire existence on this planet asked someone to love me or worship me or just like me. And that is a problem with humanity. We have created an energy field which has formulated into an ego and has become very egotistical. And it has followed us all through every single lifetime. Now you take AI, artificial intelligence. They give you the information from the data that scientists or whoever puts into their data machine so they can answer any questions. But they are still limited because they can only give you what they've got. The funny thing is, I've known a planet a long time ago as an Acharon, and all their equipment, every single computer was vaporized by father, being Yarkus Cardis. And the reason he did that was because the entire planet was basically being taken over by egotistical robots. And it was really, really bad. So on our planet here, planet Earth, we have an ego, all of us, and we don't recognize it. Just recently about a certain person, a female, she won't come and see us because she's put some weight on. And when she saw our photo that we sent, she didn't like it because she felt embarrassed that she is not, how would you say, divine in her appearance, egotistical in her appearance. And it made her feel depressed, stressed. And that's what happens to all humans in the world of even entertainment, of all descriptions, singing, acting, whatever. The problem is we do not learn how to control our ego in our human brain because all we do is live logically with logic thoughts of conditioning that's been placed into our brain by the ego that collects information from our right hemisphere. And it literally tears it apart and only keeps what it understands. And that's what it gives us. And it's become so powerful, the human ego, that we go to war and we kill millions of people. Look at the elite criminals. Their egos are so out of whack that they kidnap human children by the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands every year. And they sell them with their egos to the pedophiles and make so much money it's not funny. They worship it through satanic worshipping. They kill them, torture them, and eat them. That's their ego. That's an example. And it's happening all over the world. Humanity, as it is, there's at least 32% of humanity that are cannibals. And that's shocking. And what they want, the elite, they want all of humanity to become cannibals. So their very basic thinking. That's why they destroyed the pineal gland through the COVID-19. And that's why they destroyed the encasement around the pineal gland through fluoride. So we don't grow consciously. And we stay at a certain level of thinking through our ego. And our ego takes over.
Kuntarkis, you suggest that many people are essentially clones of their parents' thinking and emotional patterns. What does it take? What does it actually take for someone to break out of that cycle?
I tell you something very simple, and I tell you one thing, it is very simple, Michael. It's all in your thinking. And I was writing that today to a question, and it was a pretty lengthy one that I gave an answer to. Our thinking is governed by our egos, and our thinking is highly conditioned by our egos. And the funny part is, when we start to try and go beyond it, we become confused and we don't realize that we are dealing with something heritage. And what you just said, the genetics from our parents. I know I've said this before, but let's say it again. When a baby is starting to grow within the mother's womb, all her blood, from every moment she takes a breath, in that blood is conditioned cellular cells, memories, and it just flows through her blood, through the child, which gets embedded, which also is embedded within the human brain of that child. All the characteristics of the mother, all the characteristics of the father are going within that child's DNA. The child is born, I should say the baby is born, starting to grow into a child. And if you look around our world today, how confronting children are, and also their anger, oh yeah, they're loving, beautiful, but it's like their conditioning is coming out earlier. And a lot of the times it's the characteristics of their parents which makes them a clone. If they don't take recognition of what they're doing and realize that, my God, I've seen my dad act like this, I've seen my mum act like this. Maybe I'm just a clone of them. So the child begins to rebel as it gets into a teenager. And then it starts to say, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to get out of my mum's house, my dad's house. And they do. Because what they're looking for is their own identity as an individual. And that's actually a good, positive thing. Because they realize, but they don't fully know that they're a clone.
And you said that facing oneself can be very painful, but also freeing. What does that process realistically look like for an ordinary person?
Okay. You know, if a person listened and actually read the book Entrapment when the new one comes out, The Pathway to Freedom, if they actually read that, but read it with an open mind and heart and really wanted to change and let go of the things that have caused them so much pain, so much misery, they would start to face themselves and know the different types of masks the ego wears. It's very obvious when you walk down the street and you talk to people, you can see the egos coming out in a negative way, some in a positive way. So it's a very interesting thing. So once you start to become aware, there are very simple things you can do. Do an affirmation. Do your own. Look them up. Go into the book of knowledge, I am alien. There's 80 of them there. Pick one or two. Then photocopy it. Put it up on the wall. And something like this. I am no longer a clone. I am an individual. And I recognize the power that lies within myself as an individual. And I will step forward and recreate my thinking to make my life more positive in every way. I don't want to be a clone. I love my mother. I love my father. But I'm going to break the cycle by saying this every day, 2 or 3 times a day before I go to bed. So I become that individual and I break that cycle. And I put all those things into my cellular memory, which only sits there to be recalled if I need it, not to govern my entire life, because I am not a clone, I am an individual, and that's what I will become now. When you talk like that from the heart in a positive way, you are literally pouring energy into your consciousness, and that will help let go of the things you no longer need, and you will open up new doorways to what you do need, and that's very important.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You described the foundation of all life as unconditional love. How does someone begin to experience that in their everyday life rather than just understanding it as a concept?
Okay, before you go to bed, you're laying down, you got your hands over your heart, you take 2 or 3 deep breaths, release it, and you say these words: I am in the moment of life, and I know that I have been hateful in many ways, especially to myself. And I know I've been showing that hatefulness to others, and I've got to stop it. I'm going to unconditionally love who I am. And I'm going to feel with my heart that unconditional love. And I'm going to change how I am to a more positive way of life. I'm not going to be negative anymore. And if I am, I will change it in that moment and become a loving person, and especially to love myself unconditionally. And I know from what I've read, I know that when you love yourself unconditionally, you will then learn to love others. And that's what I want to do. I want to learn to love myself, and I want to learn to love others and live in a positive manner, a positive world. I will become the beacon, the beam of light for change. I love myself unconditionally, and I now go into a deep sleep. When you wake up, say similar things. Instantly, just 3 or 4 words. I love who I am, now and forevermore. And say that through the day. That is living energy. And what you're doing is transforming your conditioning of negativity into positivity. We seem to think negative 70% of our life in many ways, some worse than others, in little ways, big ways. But when we start feeling from the heart that we love who we are, we begin to transform from negativity to positivity. And that's how life changes.
Brilliant. Now, you talk about consciousness originating from light. You're speaking about this as something quite literal, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. When you think of something like this, is a phrase that you heard me say a lot lately. And this is what Buddha used to express, by the way. That's something else I found out. It's written in that book. Whether it's still around, I don't know. But this is what he says, and this is what I say. I am pure living energy, formulating into pure living consciousness. I know who I am. I am light, which is living energy. When I express verbally, I am expressing light, positivity, because I am living energy. That's who I am, living energy. And that's how I create my thought consciousness in manifestation. As I think and I put my heart into that thinking, I am creating higher levels of consciousness where I can manifest physical things into my life through my actions physically. But I also know that I am so much more than just this body. This body will eventually deteriorate, but my spirit, that is the real essence of who I am, lives on forever. So I am living energy, formulating into living consciousness. more and more and more.
Brilliant. Kuntarkis, if humanity has been evolving consciously for such a long time, why do you think we still struggle so much with fear, conflict, and division?
You know, I've been looking at that just over probably the last month with the wars that are starting to occur, and what's coming from this could possibly be a third world war. And it's very, very scary. You know, people think because they've been highly conditioned through media, through fear, and that's what the elite criminals are doing, placing fear into us, closing off our pineal gland, destroying our pineal gland through COVID-19 injections. Yes, it takes several years. It may take 10 years, but it's happening. The funny thing about Australia, we have so many deaths in Australia since the COVID-19, mainly elderly, but there are also children that are only 4 to 5 years old that are having strokes and heart attacks. That's because of the COVID-19. And that's because they were born through their parents when they had the injections. It's being transferred into their genetics before they're born. And that's the really sad part. We have to learn to understand what we are. We are just not this physical body. We are so much more. And the amount of levels of consciousness is absolutely mind-blowing. These aliens that are around at the moment causing us all havoc, they are not consciously evolved. They are physically evolved in their own greed and their own wants and their own aggressiveness to have anything they choose to have. And they'll fight for it and they'll destroy an entire species. But our wars are not just created by humans. There is a race called the unseen dark forces who are projecting negative thoughts into the human brain, verbally, through vibration. And a lot of these people who are dictators are very violent and hateful people. And they don't care who they kill or who they attack. They just want to have wars all the time for superiority. Wars are in negative. And what we need to understand, the enemy that we seem to think is out there is not. The enemy of every human on this planet is within us. That's where the problem exists. All the conditioning, which is negative, so much of it, throughout every lifetime of every human, has escalated beyond proportion. And it's created such negative energies over this entire planet. And we need to grow consciously so we can learn to let go and dissolve all that. And if we do, we will become loving human beings, no longer just a human carnivore or a human cannibal. We will learn to love instead of hate. And we will learn to be happy instead of being unhappy. And we will create a life for our children without having fear like we have grown up with and all our generations before us. The wars have been so bad on planet Earth, really bad. And we need to stop it because nobody ever wins a war.
Kuntarkis, you say the purpose of human life is to gather knowledge and grow in awareness. What kinds of experiences actually help someone evolve their awareness?
Okay. Changing of diet is the first move. Changing of your thought patterns is the second move. Learning about yourself, not just being physical, that without the spirit you would not exist on this planet in a third dimension. Learn to understand your spirit. even learn to understand your dreams. Your dreams are reality upon your emotions, be it negative or positive. And if we learn to understand that, we learn to understand to step beyond it and become more balanced in all ways. It's easy. It's not hard. It just takes a lot of time.
That's great. If someone listening to this conversation wanted to take just one step today towards greater consciousness, what would you suggest they begin with?
I would suggest something very simple: to stand in front of a mirror like I used to so long ago. And every time I come sometimes into a mirror, my head lifts and I look at myself, not with an ego. I look at myself with heart. And all I say this: I love who you are, and I love what you do to become what you are. I am the living essence of living energy itself, evolving into living consciousness. Even if you look into a mirror and embrace yourself and just say, I care about who I am. I'm learning to love who I am, to become a better human being. That's all you've got to say. That's the start. And then gain knowledge by finding where you can go to gain it or to read books. And then you put whatever you've gained into action with yourself and maybe with others if they wish it. But never force anything onto anybody, not like religion. Religion is deceitful because what it wants is for everybody to become that one religion and to believe it no matter what. And in so many countries today, they are killing people even if they believe in it, or if they don't believe in it suddenly, they want to cause that person all the pain because it's all about domination. And that's the sad part, Michael.
Well, thank you, Kuntarkis. Is there anything else you'd like to say in closing?
I can say this. When you truly understand how important your pineal gland is, that sits under your brain, that is really small, and what that pineal gland is capable of, then you start to understand that you want to develop it. And the more you put concentration onto it and believe that you're filling your body with pure living light and put that living light into that direction where your pineal gland is and just see it being activated 100%. And say these words: I am activated and I allow visions to flow into my life in a positive way. Just say that and go with the flow.
Very good. Thank you, Kuntarkis.
You're very welcome.
This concludes another episode of Kuntarkis. If you'd like to find out more about Kuntarkis, find his website, which is etcconsciousness.com. He has articles there, he has his books listed there, and also if you have any reason to contact us in general for any reason, just email kuntarkis@gmail.com. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for more.